and I have always wondered, is it possible to do a podcast with somebody that loves gardening but also loves Star Wars?
I think episode 3 is still the darkest of all the movies. It is one of my most enjoyable Star Wars movies to watch. The killing of the younglings, I was like, let's kill some more. I'm just like, I wanted it to go super dark, and watching somebody fall to get to the point to where he is now this dark, evil person. I love the execution of it for episode 3.
But where was I going to find somebody that also liked gardening, Star Wars, and had a background in genocide and humanism?
So, yes, I totally agree. So, I have my undergrad degree, I studied genocide.
Oh.
So, very weird turn. But my favorite is a weird word when you're talking about genocide. My favorite theory, my favorite prevailing theory in explaining why tragedies occur is around humanism, and it's the belief that like everyone holds good and evil at every time. So, they were studying generals in the Holocaust, and they're like, these people are not coming back insane. Like, these seem to be sane individuals who have loving wives and children, and people couldn't deal with that. And that's where humanism evolved, was like, people are both good and evil. Like, people are complex, and there's complexity there. And so this episode for me, I think does, now this is why I have to like 2 too, because I feel like you can't like 3 without liking 2 in my personal opinion. But it does it for me. Like, it's so good in bringing that out. And I think it makes 6 so good. Like, without this episode, 6, and seeing the sort of like very short comeback, like way too short. Like, you do not get to see enough emotional turmoil and how quickly he suddenly cares for his son.
The redemption, you mean, for Vader at the end?
Yeah, it's not deep enough for me. It's deep enough because 3 exists. Like, it's deep enough because the depth of the character is there, and it's possible, and like they explore humanism in a beautiful way. The idea that like you can be in your lizard brain and have an emotional breakdown and kill a bunch of children out of nowhere, and then switch to like love being such a big driver that you hate. Like, I actually think it's hate in that scene, and I think you're probably saying this, like, only driven by love. Like, betrayal only matters because love was present. If love wasn't present, someone can't betray you. Like, trust wasn't there. Oh, I love it so much. I think it's amazing. If I didn't have the emotional connection I had to the other 3, that may be my top.
And I think the execution of it all is why I like 3 and why I can't like 2. Although I understand what you're saying in why you say if you're going to like 3, you have to bring 2 along with it. I agree with what you're saying. The execution for me is different. And that's why. And watching Anakin and watching Hayden Christensen being able to portray the betrayal, the love, and it almost makes you not like you agree with Anakin, but I kind of understand his point.
Yeah.
And Padme comes walking off the spaceship, and then all of a sudden Obi-Wan's right behind her. He's thinking, oh, Obi-Wan's getting a little, what's the deal between the 2 of you now? So I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I definitely think more than most, they did a really good job having you potentially project where you could have a break and make such egregious decisions. And I know some people are like, I would not, of course, obviously, you're also not carrying a lightsaber and like on a foreign planet. So like, don't even come at me with that. But for a half a second to act like any person isn't capable of evil acts, I think is like selling humanity short. And I don't know how you explain any of the terrible things that occur. And so instead to say like, yeah, it takes a lot of patience and hard work to like be composed. And it takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of energy. And it is really easy to lose it. And like, if you've ever just lost it yelling at someone, or if you ever hit anyone, like it's easy. And of course, they take it much further than that. But no, I totally agree. I think that, I assume, is one of few movies where people are like, oh,